The animal kingdom never fails to be a source of surprise, and as the following stories show, they can be totally unpredictable. Although most animals are instinctive, there are many occasions where they do the totally opposite of what we would expect them to do. The following stories will surprise you when they were observed doing something totally unexpected. Corralling emu. Brian Hayden is a farmer in northeast Victoria, Australia. He posted a video on Facebook that shows an emu herding sheep after bushfires destroyed the fencing that was keeping them contained. He says the emu had been hanging around the sheep for at least 2 days. After the area had just gone through a catastrophic bushfires at Buchan, he came across an emu corralling all the sheep as if it was the most natural thing to do. It was actually mustering all the sheep and had been doing it for 2 days. He claimed it was a most extraordinary situation. Hayden found the emu while surveying his 800-hectare farm following a disastrous fire that had raced through the area in late December 2019. Almost all of Hayden's land and fencing was destroyed, leaving no fences whatsoever, allowing the sheep to wander without any boundaries, and they would have been virtually impossible to round up. Hayden said that after going out to check on what sheep had survived the horrific bushfire that had engulfed this property, he was shocked to see a wild emu instinctively rounding up a flock of ewes and lambs and held them in place as a normal sheepdog would do. Then it went off to find another flock. What would have made this animal act in such a fashion? Maybe it was a dominant male in its own mob of emus. Maybe his mob of emus perished in the fires and he needed to put this dominance into practice with sheep. Corralling kangaroo. This story is very similar to the last story, but instead of an emu herding sheep, it was a kangaroo. Another Australian farmer was shocked to see an unbelievable image of a kangaroo herding sheep into a pen, and where the roo was actually riding one of them. Totally gobsmacked, Lockie Orison observed a 170-metre tall adult male kangaroo steering the 800-strong pack of sheep in Boolagul, western New South Wales. The 19-year-old farmer managed to take a photograph because he could not believe what he was seeing, which showed a kangaroo standing on one of the sheep's backs. The young farmer said, "We'd seen the roo in the field, which was nothing unusual, as we see them all the time. Then as we were mustering the sheep to prepare them for wool classing, it jumped up and started coming in with them. Then as they started to herd the sheep, he started jumping all over the sheep, just like a sheepdog, and was bouncing all around on them. They were then herded into smaller and smaller pens. They normally use motorbikes and sheepdogs to herd the sheep, and it was the first time they'd had a kangaroo helping them. The scene they were observing was not only bamboozling the sheepdogs, but the sheep as well, who were totally confused as to what was happening. Maybe the kangaroo had grown up observing the sheepdogs and thought, hey, I can do this, and joined in, taking over the sheepdog's role. After the herding, the kangaroo went back out into the pasture and hopped away. He said, "You see kangaroos on the farm all the time, but never anything like this." The older men he worked with had been working with sheep all their lives, and they had never seen anything like it before. Jungle Book comrades. At Noah's Ark Animal Sanctuary in Georgia, there is a trio of animals that almost resembles real-life Jungle Book characters. The following are 3 animals that would never associate in the wild. There is an African lioness, a Bengal tiger, and an American black bear who have spent the last 15 years together. They've become an inseparable trio in this animal sanctuary. The bear, lion and tiger, dubbed BLT, were rescued and brought to Noah's Ark Animal Sanctuary where they were very young. 2 of the animals have been named after Jungle Book characters, with Baloo, the bear, Shere Khan the tiger, and Leo the lion, who of course was not in the story, but calling a Leo the lion seemed appropriate. All of the animals arrived in 2001 after they were discovered by police officers in the basement of an Atlanta home during a drug raid. The animals were found in horrific conditions and only a few months old. They were frightened, malnourished and infected with internal and external parasites. When they first arrived, the tiger cub was extremely underweight and malnourished, while the lion cub had an open infected wound on her nose for being confined in a small crate. The wound eventually healed, leaving a scar. However, the bear was in the worst condition, with an ingrown harness digging into his flesh. It was never loosened as he grew in size. It was so ingrown that his skin had begun to grow over and around it. It was surgically removed, leaving it with an infected wound that eventually healed. Due to the surgery, it was the first time all three had ever been separated, where both Shere Khan and Leo became extremely agitated and anxious because of it, pacing up and down and making noises. It took many months for all three animals to heal. After the surgery on Baloo, the three were inseparable. When asked if it was normal for animals with their background to have separation anxiety, the carer said that it was common in many animal species for one or even a few members of a group to become visibly upset when they are separated from their perceived family. While lions are found in prides, both bears and tigers are usually loners. However, it would not be unusual for young animals of different species to develop a bond if they were raised together. The bond between the three had continued well into adulthood and had never wavered. They were a bonded trio, consisting of 3 different animals from 3 different continents. Despite living in an enclosure of roughly 3 acres, BLT are usually within 100 feet of each other at any given time. When one naps, they all nap in nearby locations right next to each other. If one walks down to the creek, the others will follow. They seem to have a need to be near one another. Their close proximity at all times does not appear to affect their behaviour towards each other. If they play too rough, they have never injured one another, and most of the time they are very affectionate and gentle with each other. Unfortunately, Shere Khan the tiger passed away with his closest pals nearby in December 2018.